This is Still Here, Still Queer, Now What? Your companion through queer midlife with me, Dr. Paul Taylor-Pitt, the author of Still Here, Still Queer, Now What? The book, coming everywhere 21st of October. Welcome to another week. Welcome to Monday. A bit tired today. A bit tired, actually. What a long week. What a busy week last week was. I don't know if this is going to be a long episode because I already feel like I need a nap and it's not even 8 o'clock on Monday morning. Last week was a very gay week, which, I mean, every week is a gay week, isn't it? It's, try not having a gay week when you're gay. But last week was particularly gay and beautiful. I went to an open mic event on Monday called Reverse Voices, which was a queer open mic, spoken word, poetry, music, anything goes evening, which was wonderful. If you have listened to the episode with Lior from a few weeks back, you know that Lior is fearless, and they invited me to join them at Reverse and perform something, do something. So I decided it would be a good opportunity to dust off the moths from reading publicly. Because come October, when I start doing bookstore events, which I'm very excited about, there's going to be opportunities to read from the book. And also I don't know why. Why do I do these things to myself? But I've decided to make it a little bit more challenging. Not just, launch a book, not just go out on a book tour. But for each of the book events, I'm going to write something specific for that event. Because I think it's good practice just to keep the writing fresh. Talk about current stuff. So I thought I'll do the same for Reverse Voices. So I wrote a piece that's just been on my mind. It was on my mind from when I went on a writing retreat during the summer and ended up in this conversation with a young American woman. And I have no idea how it came up, but we ended up talking about things that used to be okay, but would now not be seen as okay. And I found myself explaining to her what a page 3 model was. And so I ended up writing this piece about that and about the context of what page 3 was all about, how it came about, what else was going on in our culture at that time, and enduring love for Samantha Fox. So I performed that piece at Reverse Voices. It took me days and days I worked on it, because maybe this is just my process, but I had the idea, wasn't sure where it was going, wrote a load of stuff, got rid of it, started again, got into it, couldn't find the heart of it. I really just couldn't find what this piece was about. And then I went back to what Reverse Voices is about, and it's about truth. It's about who would we be in the absence of societal pressures. And so I wrote about what would it be like to have grown up in a time without societal pressures to conform to heteronormativity. So I think I got there. And I was quite late in the evening when it came to the reading, following amazing people. I mean, Lior did a piece of, it was performance art, launching a new character, a queer operatic superhero, which I'm here for. Other people performed amazing bits of poetry, that sang. It was just wonderful. And then I did my piece, and I was quite nervous about it because I was reading not poetry, whatever the opposite of that is. Text. Or prose, is that what they call it? Hello, I'm a writer. And also, it's not something that I had memorized. And so I was reading from a piece of paper, because as much as I appreciate technology and I'm a technology nerd, I'm also 52 and I can't read from an iPhone because it's too small and my eyes just don't work. And I like paper. So I'd printed out my piece. And in the few minutes leading up to performing it, I just felt this huge sense of vulnerability, this amazing feeling of nervousness. And I'm so glad I did it. Not only did it get a really nice reception, including thank you to the one person who stood up at the end. That was unexpected. A single person ovation. How nice was that? I came away then almost like looking around going, was that okay? What did you think? Did I do well? Like seeking some kind of validation or approval. But at the same time, kind of just playing it cool. Like, oh yeah, I do this all the time. I'm just going to sit down again and it's great. And I'm so glad I did that event, because it reminded me that this stuff is quite scary. In my head, I've just been doing it all theoretically, planning these events and putting myself up for doing stuff, and then suddenly going, actually, these are quite scary things to do. But perfect timing, because just a few days later, I found myself in a recording studio about to narrate my book. So I was sitting with a little bit of the freshness, the flavour of discomfort from the open mic night on Monday. Because then for the next couple of days in the recording studio, it was me and a microphone and a producer. Now, my book is very queer. It's, it does what it says on the cover. It is like on the cover is the word queer. We have LGBTQ plus, it's there. And I've known that all along, but somehow it felt very surprising to be reading the book directly into the ears of a straight man. Now imagine two slightly bigger phone boxes next to each other, smooshed into an office. I don't know how you're going to imagine that. Imagine a small space with two men in that small space, one straight, one gay, and the gay one spending hours reading directly into the other one's ears, which essentially was what was going on. You're wearing headphones, so not only was I reading into my ears, I was reading into the producer's ears. And wow, and thinking about it now, my hands have gone really sweaty. Because what I realized a number of things in that moment. Firstly, in my book, I'm quite not mean about straight people. I don't think I'm mean. I think I am possibly indifferent, maybe nonchalant, and let's say dismissive. Dismissive, I'd say, is maybe the best way to put it. I'm not mean about straight people. I'm dismissive of them. And that's quite, as I discovered, an uncomfortable thing to say directly into the ears of a straight person. I just want to read you a piece from, it's quite early in the book, it's part of the introduction. And it says, "This work is deliberately aimed at a segment of the population who need it. The opinions of anyone else are irrelevant. Some people will reject and vilify the need for this book to exist, as they do for us in general. It doesn't matter what they think. No amount of critique or criticism will affect how I feel about myself. It may have taken half a century, but I can stand with my arms outstretched and my heart exposed, knowing that everything that belongs to me can never be diminished by anyone." So imagine, that's quite early on. It was incredibly uncomfortable because I found myself then, rather than just calling him the producer, let's actually name him. His name was Fraser. I found myself coming to the end of paragraphs like that and then going, "Sorry, not you, obviously, because you're nice." And he was like, "No, that's fine, you don't need to apologize." And the number of times in the book I say, never mind straight people, they're just irrelevant. Or things like, because I think it's quite funny, and it's quite funny in writing, I think, when you read something that says, I'm not going to have a midlife crisis. That's so straight. But then to read it with my voice into the ears of a straight person, uncomfortable. Let's say that. What I also noticed, despite again and again in the book talking about, I'm not looking for anyone's approval, I'm not looking for validation, certainly not from straight people. I found myself, whenever we would maybe pause for a coffee break or lunch, saying to Fraser, "What do you think? Do you like it? Is it good? Do you think I'm a good writer?" I might as well have said to him, "Tell me I'm a good boy." And it really surprised me how knee-jerk it was to be asking for approval. And not just that, but to be asking for approval from a straight man. The whole book is about, we don't need anyone's approval, certainly not from straight people, certainly not from straight men. And there I was going, "What do you think? Do you like it? Am I funny?" Now, I know, hashtag not all straight people. Some of my best friends are straight, not all straight men. And Fraser was absolutely lovely. And we had really interesting conversations about how it feels to exist in this world as a queer person, as a straight person. He was very open to those conversations. But what I noticed was the vulnerability that comes up in reading my work, in putting my work out there, and then my natural reaction, which is to go, do you like it? Tell me it's okay. Validate me, validate me. So I'm very glad that I had the experience of the open mic night, because that kind of prepared me for the reading and the recording. Again, the open mic night was performed in front of a bunch of queer people reading the book. I had, in my head, never anticipated that the first person to listen to the book all the way through would be a straight man. And that was surprising. And, God bless him. He did it. He was a trooper. We got through it really well. And I really enjoyed working with him, and he was lovely. And if anyone anywhere is looking to have an audiobook recorded, I know this is a niche market, but Fraser at White House Studios, look him up, 5 stars, would definitely recommend if you're looking for a kind, straight person. The other thing I realised, and it just happened now, and it just reminded me, was my stomach gurgles all the time, like roughly 4 times per minute. And I never usually notice it, but sitting in a soundproof room with headphones on and a really sensitive microphone, sometimes I got away with it, but a lot of the times I would be halfway through a sentence and Fraser would be like, no, heard your stomach. And I'd be like, oh, fuck, sorry. And, again, he was very generous. He'd be like, why are you apologizing? You can't help it. But again, I noticed there I am in this room reading my work and apologizing for myself, apologizing for something I have no control over or no. And so at the end of the whole process, I loved the whole process. The whole process was amazing. I would do it like for a living if I could. At the end of it, we go back and do the pickups. So I'm gonna start pretending I know what I'm talking about. But the pickups are where you get a list of all the times you fucked up. And I think there were around about 1,000 of them. But a lot of them were maybe where the recording software had misunderstood my accent, or I had paused for more than a second, because apparently if you pause for more than 2.8 seconds in an audiobook, the software freaks out because no one can bear 2.8 seconds of silence. Whereas in my book, there are lots of questions, and so I was leaving lots of space for people to hear the question and then think about it. Anyway, software didn't like that. There goes my stomach again. Software didn't like that, and so there were all 1,000 mistakes flagged. But then as human Fraser went through them, he was like, no, they're all fine. So we had about 50 different things that we had to re-record, some of them to do with stomach noises. And maybe it shouldn't be a surprise because, your body speaks your mind, but many of the stomach noises happened in really uncomfortable sentences. Or sometimes, I don't know, sentences where I was talking about men, fucking men, or, a time when I did something really embarrassing. And so I had to go back and record those lines individually, say them again out loud into his ears. There's a piece in the book where I've written about shame and the difference between shame and embarrassment and humiliation. And I talk about Marina Abramovich, the performance artist, who says, we can't ever hide our shame. We have to not only admit it to ourselves, we have to take it and show it to the public. And so in the book I say, so in the spirit of that, here's a list of things I'm really embarrassed about or ashamed of that I've done. Now, if I'm not going to be in the room with you as you read my book, you can make your own faces to the list. I never need to see them. That paragraph, that page, is not one that I will ever read in public. I will never go to a book event and say, hey, I'm going to read you this page. And yet, I had to read that list directly into the ears of a straight man. My stomach was not having it. So again, I had to go back and record some of those and say them again. It's wild. But I guess, what am I taking away from the experience? I took away from the experience a number of things. Firstly, I loved the process of doing it. It felt so exciting and so special, and I felt so lucky. Now and again, I had to really ground myself and just remind myself, wow, I get to do this. This is a dream come true. I'm doing this. There were moments there's parts in the book where I've written stuff that I think, for me anyway, is very significant, very meaningful, very kind of declarative statements. And when I saw those coming, I would kind of stop and I would just center myself a bit to make sure that when I spoke, it was spoke. Thankfully, I was reading, not making up. It was spoken with sincerity and feeling. And it was such a wonderful experience. So I take that away first and foremost. Secondly, I take away the fact that it sounds quite good. It sounds good. Like when I was listening back to some of it and I was like, wow, I could listen to him. So I'm very excited about that, particularly for the number of people who've said to me, oh, I love your voice. I would love for you to record something that would make me fall asleep. So there you go, audible.com for all your insomniac needs. What else do I take away? I take away that there are still gremlins in my brain that are very good at disguising themselves. Gremlins around approval, around validation, gremlins around my relationship with straight people, particularly straight men. And walking into that space was like having one of those ultraviolet lights shone on a crime scene. Suddenly I was like, wow, where did that come from? But what I take from all of those experiences is not an opportunity to beat myself up and go, oh no, that's terrible. It's an opportunity to go, oh, amazing. I've learned that there's still stuff there that needs some attention, that needs some work. It means I can look at those gremlins and go, hi, come in, sit. Let's talk about why you're still here. Let's talk about what you need. And so despite the toe curlingness of it and the stomach gurgling of it, it's such a good opportunity just to notice what happens and go, oh, look, you're still here. Still queer. Oh my God. Also, how many times in this book have I said the phrase, still here, still queer? Yeah, I noticed that I've written that quite a lot. What else do I take away? I take away from it the tension between my need for perfection and my rejection of perfection. Again, there's a whole story in here about perfectionism and my battle with it. And yet I said to Fraser so many times, is this okay? Is this good? Am I doing all right? I think I said to him at one point, which I'm not proud of, but funny, am I the best one you've ever had? And so he gave me a metric, which was, that one of his best recorders managed to get through 4 hours of material in one day, which apparently is quite a lot, even though you're recording for 8 hours. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to beat that record. And we got to the end of the first day and I hadn't managed it. And there wasn't going to be enough book left to achieve it on day 2. So instead, what I did was I made sure that I tried to get through as much as possible on day 2 so that I didn't have to go back for day 3. And I finished the recording process in 2 days instead of 3, which I took as a massive win. I also took it as a sign that my perfectionism is still very, very raw and present, and I have not dealt with it. And also that I still got a thrill when Fraser said, oh yeah, but you're probably one of the fastest for a first timer. And I was like, yeah, give me the fucking medal. Give me the pat on the back. Give me the good boy. And then I was happy. So still lots of stuff to do. Still lots of things to work on. But what an incredible experience. I'm so happy. Oh yeah, the final thing I take away is that I'm not going to be doing that for a living. Because apparently for nonfiction, most of the authors read their own work. So there's very few opportunities to go in and read someone else's work, unless you read fiction, in which case you have to be really good at accents. And so, of course, I was like, well, I could try a few. And no, the answer was no. I'm not going to be hired for that job. I can't do it. I can't even do my own accent anymore. I can't do Scottish. I certainly couldn't do maybe 3 different accents in one page. So no, I'm not going to be moving into full-time narration. Anyway, thank you to my publisher for giving me the opportunity to record this book. Thank you to Fraser for being fantastic. Yeah, what a great experience. So a very gay week altogether, which actually finished yesterday with a celebration of Madonna's 68th birthday, which, happy birthday, Madonna. Because of course she's going to be listening. And there was a thing that was on at Outernet in London, which is the space above Tottenham Court Road Station. Which, I mean, if there was ever going to be a straight pride event, it would probably be held at Outernet. Like it's the most generic kind of, basic space where mostly it's just emojis and things. I don't know. People seem to love it. But they were celebrating Madonna's birthday with this 6 minute kind of thing. Well, it wasn't a performance, a video. And, you could take a selfie and upload it and you'd be on the screen saying happy birthday. So that was 6 minutes of utter gay joy yesterday. So happy birthday, Madonna. Thank you for doing that. Okay, I think I'm almost done. Oh God, it's 25 minutes again. How have I done 25 minutes? The piece that I performed for Reverse Voices is on my Substack. I need to get better at telling you about my Substack. Still here, still queer now what.substack.com. That piece is called Page 3 and Me, and you can read it and you can also watch the actual performance at the open mic because Lior recorded it for me, which was incredibly kind. So that's there. It's 65 days until the book comes out. Just note that. We're now less than 10 weeks away. My hands have gone very sweaty again. There's so much to do. There is so much to do. It's unbelievable anyway, I'm not going to go into that right now. Thank you for the lovely comments on CJ's interview. I'm very glad that you loved CJ as much as I did. There was such a nice stream of comments on the posts of people going, oh, this person is amazing. So thank you, CJ Dabara, for coming on the podcast. This week on the podcast, you're going to meet another superstar. I was going to say my first drag queen. I don't think it's my first drag. Well, certainly not knowingly anyway. But certainly the first person who's coming on the podcast who I first met as a drag queen. And then we had a conversation with this person out of drag. But you're going to meet the amazing Latina Ballroom, who I met at Pride this year. We were marching together with Queerwell, and Latina just had the most beautiful spirit and energy. And I said, you have to come on the podcast. And we had this amazing conversation, talk about surprising. I think we covered 1% of the things I wanted to, because Latina has had a life so far, and I can't wait for you to hear that. So look out for that on Wednesday. I think I'm done. This was supposed to be 10 minutes and it's now 26, but there we go. Thank you for listening. You are all superstars. I'm very grateful that you keep coming back, that you keep listening to this. There's so much good stuff to come, and I'm very, very grateful that you are still here, still queer. Right. Love you. Have a good day. Bye, 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 bye.